All right, so we're going to continue on with the strategic concepts by uh, Francois Tardieu. And he's got some very fine problems, very difficult problems. And again, the idea is to try to use the things we've known that we learn, particularly in these sessions, Michi's opening proverbs and some of the Mochi concepts and general principles, to see if we can solve these problems that Francois has come up with. And it's pretty difficult actually, because these problems are difficult and a lot of them are unique. So let's start with the first one here, 5-4 to play. What do you think?
I would come down and slot.
What'd you say? I'm sorry, Antoinette, what did you say?
I would come down and 10 to 5
10 to 5,
and 13 to 9.
13 to 9. Why do you would want to do that?
I want to make the 5 point.
Yeah.
We're still a favorite to come in if we get hit.
Yeah.
So Gary, how about coming down with two checkers?
Yeah, okay, you can come down 13-8, 13-9. You leave a direct 1, and you leave a 4-4, 4-5, and 2-6.
And you also leave the back checkers stranded without a midpoint.
Right.
Okay, I give up.
Yeah, well, the thing about this position is there's no play that's obvious that you'd like to see, that you'd like to be able to make. I mean, you'd like to make the point and you'd like to make the 5 point.
Yep.
Or you'd like maybe to make even this outfield point. Now, the 10 point here is not ideal because it's 6 pips away from the 4, and generally that's not as good an idea. Or makes it less valuable, but you can't make it anyway. And so, what are you going to do? There's the safe play, 5 down, 10 to 6. There's the other safe play, 13 to 4. Generally, however, it's wrong to run past an open spot with a checker. And okay, granted, black. I'm sorry, go ahead. Was someone going to say something? Okay, so the granted black has the 5 point, but it's only a 2 point board. It's not it's not great. It's a better board than our board, so that sort of tells you to play safe. In fact, and we're ahead in the race, that sort of tells us to play safe too. But the safe plays really aren't that appealing. So the right play actually is Antoinette's play.
Good job.
Thank you.
And the next play is the safe play. And the end suggestion, which is the third play, I guess. Let's look at this one too. And those are blunders, and they don't accomplish much. Not a great roll, but the idea here is that this allows you to make something happen. You're kind of the part of the problem is we're kind of inflexible here, right? That's what Tardieu points out, his explanation or his summary. And again, these I like his summaries, tries to the pithy explanation, and sometimes they're helpful and sometimes they're not. He does give a much more detailed explanation of the pros and cons, but those aren't always helpful either. There are lots of good reasons. There's lots of good reasons to play safe here.
Maybe they make more sense in French.
Maybe. But if I would, looking at this, I would probably play safe because we're ahead in the race and black has a better board. So that would be, and so that's a bold safe idea from Grill, and that would be an idea to play safe. Here, we're playing bold by slotting this point. But it's often right to slot something like the 5 point, particularly when it's going to give us a 5 prime. We're also slotting the 9 point, which would give us potentially a 6 prime. And so, you know, and if we accomplish that, we're basically in charge of the game now. Right now, it's a 50-50 game. Even with this play, we have a slight advantage because of the race, but
And there are a lot of return shots too. If we get hit on the 5 point.
yeah, if we get hit and we don't get barring double force, say,
Right.
where we get hit twice, we've got return shots going on, and you know, so there is that. The explanation he gives us is that an inherently inflexible position must be addressed as quickly as possible by a dynamic play before it becomes irrevocably damaged. I would classify that explanation as not helpful, but you can see what he's saying. What's not helpful about it is it doesn't address sort of the key issues. I think you know, do we play safe here, or you know, do we do it? And he said, "Look, you have to play boldly," but this is, to me, not that great of not that flexible position either. We're stripped everywhere except for the 6 point. Okay, granted, we want to make the 5, so that's, you know, that's why we're doing it. But it's not always easy to see why, you know, putting the checker here in this case makes sense, or we're not doing it so in other cases. Versus, you know, not playing it safe versus, you know, slotting the point that we want.
Yep.
It's hard for me to see why that is the case here, but okay, so let's go on to the next one. So here's a tricky one, and when I look at these types of positions, the first thing I look at here is, do we want to split or not split?
Right.
And so we've got splitting rules that sometimes are very helpful and sometimes not. So here, if you remember the splitting rules, we've got 13 checkers in the zone. And
Yep.
first splitting rule is if you've got 11 in the zone, or I'm sorry, 10 in the zone or more, that's a sign not to split. So we got a sign not to split. We're also well blocked here.
Yep.
That's a sign to split. Now, usually that's a pretty strong sign that you need to split. So I would consult the splitting rules and conclude that those don't help that much. And so then what do you do? The other things, we're way behind in the race.
I would hit it,
You would hit, okay.
yeah.
Way behind in the race. We do have the better board. All
Yep.
that says to play aggressively, boldly.
And then I would split.
So now, Antoinette, why do you hit here? Actually, and hitting is the right play here. But why do you hit here?
Momentum, and they're gonna make a point in their board.
Yeah, right. I think that's the key point here. Black has spares all over the place here.
Yep.
And if you remember the other idea that it was Moshi's what did he call it? Priming position versus attacking position. So this I'm not sure what he would call this, but the stack here suggests it's an attacking position. And all the spares. To a certain extent, he's got a little bit of both because you've got a 3 prime already. But if you split into this, you're asking to get hit. And not only hit, but getting the point down. There's gonna be, you know, wherever you can, well, if you come up with the 2, there are 9 numbers that are gonna point on you. And those are all great numbers, and there are also a bunch of numbers that make it a point that don't point on you, but those aren't very good for you either. However, if you hit, you're putting black on the bar. Now the number of numbers that either make a point, that make a point are limited to doubles. Double 2s and double 3s, I guess.
Mhm.
You know, maybe not, well, maybe double 4s, but actually no, double 4s don't play, so that doesn't help anyone. So yeah, and so for that reason, the right play is to hit and come down
Oh,
rather than
they don't want you to split.
hit and split. There's a general, I don't think I've mentioned it before, but actually, no, that's not right. Actually, hit and split. To me, it would be kind of tempting to hit and split here.
Mhm.
Because all black can do is hit loose, and then we have more return shots. And usually it's right to hit and split, although not necessarily off the ace point. But in this case, it's not. He did talk about that. First of all, the explanation is with a 2-point board, putting your opponent on the bar can force them to come in awkwardly and leave more box around the board. Yeah, so that's likely to happen here. He'll come in, if he can come in with a 7, he'll come out to the 7, or come out clearly if he can. Otherwise, he's going to come out and be forced to move something, from here, possibly leave a shot. Because he's not going to want to break the midpoint. If he does break the midpoint, he leaves you a direct shot there. And again, and then has abandoned his last 2 checkers for the attack. So but yeah, so I would actually be tempted to split here.
Mhm.
He does address it as here you must play constructively in front rather than offering up targets to the checkers stacked on white 6, 7, and 8 points. The split is even less urgent here, considering that white has only managed to make a 3 prime. Much better for your position to drop a builder down to 11 on white if they roll 5, 4, or 6, 3. Yeah, I mean, there's another theme too, kind of a minor, not minor, but it's kind of a secondary issue is, if you have a single checker back and you need to contain that checker, which is the case that we have here. Having a checker on the 11 point is a really good idea. And the reason that is that if black's got to escape the checker unless he rolls, well, here he can't roll a 6-5, but from the ace point, if he rolls a 6-5, he can get out safely. Anything else, he's going to come out into the outfield. And you put a checker here, it's the least vulnerable any blot that you can have, but it gives you double the shots if he tries to pop out, which is what black would like to do at this point, being up in the race with a single checker back.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
that sort of it's a little bit surprising to me that it's so much better, but anyway, that's the idea. And again, I guess that coupled with the idea that you split into, you don't want to split into a blitzing position. So you don't want to split into a stack here. You've got a couple big stacks here.
Yeah, I see that now.
Yeah. That's right. We didn't ask you, Antoinette, what your second checker was.
No, I said to split, but I see that
Oh, you did?
that-
Okay, yeah.
that is too many opportunities for him to hit twice.
Yeah.
Although
Yeah.
we're favored to come in.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's it. It's a double hit. That probably is the
Yeah.
real tough one there. A single hit it's not so bad, but the double
Yeah.
hit gives us less of a chance.
Yeah.
But again, this is a tough one.
Yep.
Tough one. See, because you do need to split at some point to get out of this.
Right.
But so we got
This is
over that. I guess it's realizing that this is really better for containment that you need.
Yeah, and also this is a builder too, another builder down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, so this one, so Antoinette, you're 2 out of 2 so far, so if you can run the table,
Yeah.
win some kind of award.
Oh, don't don't put me on the spot.
Oh, all right. All right, well, Antoinette then gets a pass on this one. And anyone else, what do we do here? So there are some. The obvious play is,
Make it 5 points.
Yeah.
so that, that's kind of, that's always tempting to hit. You can also make the 5 point. And
Well, we're up in the race. So I think structure is more important than hitting more. So I agree with Raymond. I'd make the 5 point.
yeah,
What is this lesson on?
the opening. General opening concepts. So here, if you look at like Michi's concept, fight for the 5 point, fight for the 5 point. And if you remember, it's sort of the correlated 5 is better than 4, 3, and so forth. Probably a more appropriate one in this case is kind of what rule I learned from David Presser. If you have a chance to make the 5 point and aren't going to, you got to do at least 2 or 3 other pretty good things to justify it. And so obviously with hitting, you're doing something that's good.
So
Well, and Michi's also big on making the 5 point from the 6 point.
Yes,
Makes
right.
good use.
Yeah, unstacking the 6 point often is right because that you've got 5 checkers stacked there, and with 2 you have a point, 3 you have a point with a spare, 4 you have a point with 2 spares, which is usually 1 more than you need, and with 5 you've got a point with 3 spares, and you don't need 3 spares for anything. Well, not always. It's a little bit much, but anyway, unstack the mountain, Michi called it. But yeah, this makes good use of yours. That's extra spare on the 6 point. So,
okay, I've come to a decision.
oh, you have, okay, go ahead, Anthony.
I make the 5 point.
Okay, anyone want to do something else?
No, I wouldn't want to do anything else.
No, I only do what Annette wants to do.
That's right.
Antoinette.
Now learn to follow Antoinette's lead.
Yeah.
So once again, Antoinette is 3 for 3, making the 5 point.
That's a nice tip about Presser saying you need to have at least 2 other good things that you're accomplishing to give up making the 5 point.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
Yeah, it often comes in handy when you've got multiple good plays to make, or good, well, what plays that appear good, or that do accomplish something. Like hitting would accomplish something here, and it's generally always good to hit, and particularly when the opponent's in the outfield. So, but yeah, it's not even close here. Making the 5 point is much better. The short explanation here, it says being first to make your 5 point gives 2 advantages. Your opponent must take more care moving around the board, and you'll enjoy greater freedom yourself. Yeah, so I mean, we've got our weakness here is we've got blots out here, and black has some numbers that are going to point on us. But we've also got return. If he does make the 5 point, we've got return shots, either depending on how he does it, either here, or if he breaks the 8 pointer or doesn't use this thing here.
Yeah.
A lot there. So, yeah, but a lot of some themes we have in these problems is that when in doubt, the long-term structural, better long-term structural play is often turns out to be the right play. Even the first one we saw where we're slotting the 5 point, you're doing that because over the long term, if you can make it, that will put you at great advantage. And even though it puts you currently under pressure right now. Here, it's a little bit different. We're not really under that much pressure right now, but we did give up, we gave up a nice hit to get a better structure.
But we're still up 18 pips.
Yeah, and we're still up 18 pips, so okay. All right.
Hey, Antoinette, do you need a doubles partner?
Yeah, in New York? Yeah. I do.
Sounds good.
All right, hit me up.
All right.
Okay, so 4-2 to play. So here's another one where I'll give you a hint that the obvious play, or at least what I would see as the obvious play, is not the right play. And wait, does anyone see what the obvious play is? Maybe it's not so obvious, it's just obvious to me.
13-9, 11,
11-9,
11-9.
yes. Yeah,
I'd go
yeah,
to
that's
the
what I
bar.
thought, that it's an obvious play.
I'd
Yeah,
go to the bar point,
I'm sorry.
24-18.
Yeah, 24-18. Yeah, so
Yeah.
So
The other
okay,
one
why-
is a little bit of both, 13-9 and 24-22.
Okay, yeah, the down and split. Okay, so what's wrong with this play?
It basically doesn't
We want to
achieve
make an
anything.
inside point. We don't want to make an outside prime.
I try to avoid making points that are, 7 away from each other,
Yes, yeah, well, six away.
6 away, yeah.
Where, yeah, because the 9 point is not part of the prime that extends that. And so,
Good point.
avoid making that point if that's the only thing that you could do. It has a lot less value. And so, like one of the proverbs Michi has is, make an outfield point. Well, here we're making an outfield point, but we're also giving up an outfield point. And
Yeah.
we're not making a point that's more valuable.
Right.
Probably the 10 point here is more valuable than the 9 point. So that's the problem with that. Now let's look at this play. Well, okay, now we can split. What do the splitting rules tell us about splitting here?
Because you're splitting into a stack.
Yeah, we're splitting to, well, okay, so black hasn't split, hasn't made an advanced anchor, so that's not good. We're not well blocked. There's no strong sign to split. We've got 10 checkers in the zone. That's kind of a sign not to split.
Well, we got a better board though, so that's a big sign to split. Like, bring it on.
Yes, and that's part of it. Yeah, we have the better board. So in terms of bold safe, we don't need to be afraid of contact here.
And with all those checkers, can make a prime in front of your checkers with 2 checkers trapped on the 24 point.
Yeah.
I would slot can we go back to the entire position? Please. I would slot the 5.
About 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
For the same reason that for the other one, because that's.
Yeah, the other play I think would be slotting the bar, but I want to make the 5 point.
Yeah, the 5 point is more valuable here, and there are fewer shots.
That's what I would do.
Okay, so let's look at the answer. So it is coming out. The
Wow.
down,
Coming out?
yeah.
Whoa.
Now we
Yeah.
actually, look at this one, the down, the splitting down. Is better than the other splitting down. And so. Slotting the 5 point, it's way down here.
Whoa.
So after that, sorry, Joe doesn't want to be your partner anymore.
Well, this aligns with Dirk Sheeman. It gives us, unless he points on us on the bar, it gives us good sixes, and it keeps him or her from making an inner board point
Yes.
because we're distracting
Yeah,
the opponent.
yeah. So the explanation he gives is a strong inner board and a good racing lead are two signs that you should try to run out your back checkers and not be afraid of contact.
Hmm.
Yeah, so here, he's arguing here, this is a good racing move. We are up in the race, so that's a reason to race out ahead here. We do give him a lot of shots. But unless he points on us, we've got a lot of return shots and we have the better board.
Well, I mean, splitting to the 20 point gives Black a lot of shots too.
Yes. But we're giving him, well, we much rather, if he's going to point out us, we'd much rather he point out us on the bar point than the 5 point. Because he'll still be inflexible,
Yeah, I agree.
big stack there. So,
Right.
that's probably why. And this, this is the second best play. So, and this isn't a terrible play. It's a 0.05 error, but that's not horrible. And I get this, I suspect this one is better than this one. Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Because we don't have that extra blot lying around. Even though you've got fewer shots here, fewer direct, I mean, this one gives you direct sixes, direct shot. This one goes
Goodness.
3.
And the other thing that's wrong with this is if Black makes a 16 point with a lot of numbers, that blocks us in anyway.
Yeah, we're blocked. Our advanced checker is blocked, is now well blocked as well. So that's not as good. But yeah, in this case, it's come up. Okay, again, that's pretty tricky play. Okay, so another one that we'd like a different role, probably. But what do we do with this? What's the best we can do with this?
Well, I would make the obvious play.
Yeah, what's that?
13, 10,
Yeah,
22, 20.
okay.
That's
13,
wrong.
13, 10, 6, 4.
Yeah, 6-4.
13, 10,
Yeah.
6, 4. Oh, Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the only thing, the first thing to see, I think, is make the 10 point. That's Michi's, make an outfield point. So you can't do a lot, that many great things here, but you can make a point. So that's always useful. And that's probably your first step you should take is make the point, and now what do you do with the 2?
Yeah.
And so here, then we have to sort of go back on general principles and see.
Duplicate threes.
Oh yeah, good point. It dupes threes.
Yeah, but what I'm thinking of, okay, we got a 3 to play, so we're going to be 5 down after it, so we're a little bit behind in the race.
No, we have a 2 to play.
A 2, I'm sorry. So yeah, we'll be 6 down in the race. So, but we're down in the race. So, Generally, if you're down in the race, you want to stay back. So that tells you to stay, you have to stay back, and it tells you to go 6-4.
Wow.
We're stacked on the 6 point. And we'd like to unstack that, so that sort of says 6-4. And if we get hit, okay, we go back, we're even farther behind in the race, but we do have a decent defensive position with the advanced anchor. And if the black hits us, he's not gonna make an interboard point, so we have an open board to play. So, and then if we do step up here, now we've got 3.3, you know, 3 direct shots at the 5 point.
Right.
You know, which we would rather not have.
Mhm.
So.
You know, I like this 6-4, but I think the other two worth thinking about is 13-11. You know, that once you have the 18 point,
Hmm.
the 13 point has less value. So it gives you another builder to expand this prime over here, you know.
Yeah,
What play are you making, KD?
Well, it's
Going
10-6 is the beginning of a prime. You know, a 5 point prime.
Mhm.
That's
yeah.
it. That's
Also have the
interesting.
idea of the containing here, having the checker here is helpful. Although
That's-
I'm giving up the block, so that's obviously that's the drawback to that play.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
lots of blots.
Yeah, you've got actually now you've got 3 blocks flying around. Okay, so the correct play is sliding the 4 point.
Well done, Ray.
yeah.
For the reasons that we said, and this, the second best play, actually, let's do these.
Oh,
The second best play is stepping up.
Mhm.
And the third best play is, you know, 8-6. You know, and if you look at this, clear, looking at this, you're stripped all over the place. And you're heavily stacked on the 6 point, so that's
yeah.
No, yeah.
not good at all. Then 13-8, they didn't like 2 down. So I guess, yeah, giving up that point is probably too much.
Too big.
Yeah. Too big,
What
and
it-
then, you know, your next roll, if he does, assuming he doesn't hit you, you know, if you get a 6-1, you're going to want to make the 5 point rather than the bar, but you kind of have to make the bar.
Right.
And, you know, any of the points that you'd like to make on the inner-board points, you're going to continue to leave that blot there, so,
Yeah, negate that.
yeah, so yeah, so anyway, that's the best play. This is not a terrible play either. But it all starts with kind of the Michi proverb of, you know, make the outfield point.
We got that.
Mhm.
All right, last one for today.
What does he say about this? Anything interesting?
He says, when you are behind in the race, even slightly, try not to step up to one of your opponent's most valued points. Staying back
Oh,
will
okay.
control and force your opponent to play more carefully. Yeah, so that's the idea of, you know, when you're behind in the race, don't race. Really, it's, you know, when you're behind in the race, stay back.
CG Lynn Airlift.
I'm sorry, what, Antoinette, what'd you say? Or was that you, Antoinette? Okay, I didn't hear what Antoinette said, but yeah, stay back. Black is, if not now, is going to have some rolls that where he's going to want to dump a checker deep. And if you stay back, he can't really do that without potentially getting into a lot of trouble.
Okay.
So, and also the point was where you don't want to step up to a point that he really wants to make, particularly when he's got 3 builders to point on your head.
Yeah, that's a key thing.
Yeah. All right, last one for today. or 2. Okay, so here's a really annoying roll when you just have checkers and 2 6-5s, and it's very nice, except that you can't roll 5. Um, so what do we do with this?
Two down.
2 down, yeah. Now, and why is that, Ray? And what's
He can't hit both and cover his home board blocked.
I'm sorry, you can't do what?
He's not going to be able to hit on your 11th point and also cover his blocked, or he actually set with double 4. Nothing else is my explanation.
Yeah. Well, there's only, I think, 2 plays that make sense. Which you could make the 4 point. So that would give you, a good, strong board,
Well, yes, yeah.
but you're leaving, a blot in the outfield with a direct shot. And that's not good. The weakness in your position, though, is that you've got 7 checkers on the midpoint. And so you really need to do something about that. And that's kind of the overwhelming need. So that, the right play here is 2 down. Even though with 2 down, you're giving the you're giving up the direct 6 here. And of course that, that's the drawback of that play. But now, you've unstacked your midpoint to 5. And if he doesn't hit you, you're in a pretty good position here to make a useful point in the outfield, or to safety a checker, or do something. There aren't that many bad rolls again from here, assuming that black doesn't hit you.
And even if black hits, there's a blot. They might cover,
Yeah.
but there's a
Yeah.
blot. It's better to do it, to unstack now than later.
Yeah, the key problem here is, you've got to unstack, and so, you got, an unhelpful roll for doing that, but you make the best that you can. The explanation for this one is that if you have to leave a blot, you might as well leave it on a strategic point that you want to build, even more so when you can improve your distribution at the same time, even if this means leaving a few extra shots. So, he sort of de-emphasized the unstacking part, although he does mention it for the better distribution. But I think it's mostly unstacking. He's pointing out that this spot, the 9 point has some value here, which it does, because it blocks this point. The bar point, of course, would also have some value, but that would give up a double shot. But anyway, I would say, when you've got 7 checkers, you gotta unstack. So that would be my takeaway from this, even if it does leave a shot. All right,
Okay.
so that, and any other thoughts on that?
Well, even if he does hit, you may get return shots either on the 20 or on that 9 point that he hit you on.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you have actually, if he hits a 9, even if he makes the 5 point with a 1 or a 3, you're going to come in and have 2 or 4 to hit the 9 from the 9 point again. So, there's that. And of course, if he doesn't cover, you have a direct 5 to come in and mess him up even more. Okay.
Gary, the question I had in Michi's back checker strategy and at the stage, yellow's in the completed stage. That is to say, it has escaped
Yeah,
two checkers from the 24 point all the way to the mid.
yeah,
You know, Beachy thinks then you need to play super safe. So this is
Right.
obviously, there's
Yeah.
no safe play, but
There's
there's
no
an
super safe.
11-6-2, which I see is a blunder at minus 0.14. Certainly has fewer shots. I haven't counted him, but fewer shots than giving him a direct 6.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so here, yeah, Michi's, we actually haven't talked about a lot of a black checker strategy, but yeah. Super, the completed stage is super safe, but there's no super safe play. There's not even. There's no safe play at all. You're forced to leave a blot. And I guess, is this even, this gives you what, 6-4, 6-2, double fours. That's 5.
Yeah, it may be that making the 4s fewer shots
Yeah,
and obviously accomplishes more.
4-1-5 and 6-1 and yeah, there fewer shots. Yeah, so that would make it safer than this play. But you know, this play, yeah. So I guess you're giving up more shots with this play, but you accomplish more strategically if you're not hit. Okay.
Well, the tricky questions tonight, Gary, but I can't see any particular linking theme behind them.
Behind what? These positions?
These positions, they're all
Yeah.
difficult, but is there any sort of general takeaway?
Yes, yeah, and that's if there's a criticism of the book, I would say that would be it. He's got a lot of very challenging positions, and you can come up with a lot of explanations for why, but there seemed to be good explanations for doing something else too. And you know, there's any common theme is a little bit tenuous as far as I can tell.
So, but Gary, I think the thing he keeps repeating throughout that first section of that book is what you said, to prepare your board strategically for like the next roll or the roll
Yeah.
after that.
It's often the case in these that the best play is the best for the long-term structure that you have, even though
Long-term structure. Yeah.
And the only issue that would make it easier, well, I don't know if you could make it easier, is that there are a lot of cases when that's not the case, where you need to play safely or you need to do something else and you're sort of not giving up. Otherwise, you'd be slotting your 5 point all the time and slotting all these other points that you'd like to make all the time. And that's not, you know, that's often not right to do that.
Yeah.
And so it makes it a little confusing when you come up with all these plays where it is right to do that. Without showing which cases where it's not right to do that. But
Seems like there's a little bit of a theme, you know, taking a risk at this stage for a more flexible position or a stronger structure that prepares you well, as Ann said, for the future.
Yeah.
You know, this is not a response to Raymond, but one little point you made about you've got this one lone back checker. And I think you may have a whole chapter on that, but I always am so anxious then to get it going. You know, I've got everything else out and now I want to get the last one out and worried about it getting trapped back there. But you made the point that if you're behind in the race, it's better to have the checker back there guarding territory so you can't, you know, slot
Yeah.
points.
Right.
Willy-nilly. So that helps me a little bit, learn not to move up with that back checker so quickly. Go ahead and build your own board.
Yeah. Yeah, if you have a single checker back, having it on the ace point is as good a place as any. Because it's less likely to be attacked. If it is attacked, it's the point your opponent is not going to want to make. And it gives you the best coverage, especially on the inner board. But you have some coverage depending on what else he has on the outfield too. Although those are kind of like, those are fly shots to hit those, but they're there. All right, let's call that a night.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.